Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's get real. Everyone is talking about AI, non-stop. But beyond all the hype, how are businesses actually getting real value from it? We're going to cut right through the noise to look at the real challenges and, yeah, the real returns of this whole AI revolution, drawing on some great insights from HCLTech's CTO, Vijay Guntur.
This quote right here, it gets straight to the heart of the matter. The real conversation isn't about which algorithm is coolest or whose model is biggest. It's about what this technology actually unlocks. For businesses, sure, but also for people, for all of us. AI is a tool, a really powerful one, and the real story is about how we decide to use it.
And to really get why there's so much pressure to find that value, you first have to understand the sheer scale of the investment that's being poured into it. We are smack in the middle of what you could call the great AI bet. And this bet, it's being placed at every single level of the tech world. It starts all the way down with the semiconductor industry, the folks making the chips. Then it flows up to the hyperscalers and GPU providers building these absolutely massive data centers. And here's the crazy part. They're all investing billions of dollars ahead of the demand, betting that the returns are going to follow. And now, of course, enterprises all over the world are jumping in, ready to put all that investment to work.
So how are companies actually directing all that money? Well, it really seems to be a two-pronged approach. The first prong is all about efficiency. Using AI to make your internal operations better, faster, smarter, boosting productivity. But that second prong, that's where things get really exciting. That's about using AI to invent completely new ways of doing business, creating value that simply wasn't on the table before.
So naturally, all of this spending leads to one very, very important question from every boardroom out there. What's our return on investment? How do we actually know if this massive bet is paying off? And the answer, well, it's a little more complex than you might think. We usually think of ROI in just financial terms, right? Hard numbers you can put on a balance sheet. But with AI, there's a second, and you could argue an equally important way to measure it: societal ROI. This is about the human-centric benefits, the stuff you just can't capture in a spreadsheet.
Okay, let's start with a really clear financial example. There's a large health advisory platform in the US that serves about 20,000 physicians. HCLTech came in and helped them build an AI system to give these doctors a hand. And the result, get this, by saving each of those 20,000 doctors just 5 minutes per diagnosis, 5 minutes, the platform created an estimated $100 million in value. For an investment of about $10 million, that is a 10x return. It just goes to show you how these tiny seeming efficiencies, when you scale them up, can have an absolutely enormous impact.
But, like we said, not all value fits neatly onto a balance sheet. Now, think about a not-for-profit healthcare provider over in India. They're using an AI system to predict when a patient might have a cardiac event, which lets doctors step in before it happens.
This system can literally extend and even save lives. So, how do you put a price tag on that? What's the ROI of giving someone a few more years with their family? You can't. This right here is societal return. It's a value that goes way beyond financial metrics, and honestly, is probably a lot more profound.
So we have the technology. We can see its incredible potential for both financial good and societal good. But here's the twist. The biggest thing holding us back from unlocking all that value, it isn't the technology. It's us.
I mean, the tech is already here. The potential for productivity gains is huge, somewhere in the mid-teens to maybe the high 20s. But as the quote says, the real bottleneck is getting organizations, getting people to actually adapt. The number one challenge is change management. Change management can sound like a piece of corporate jargon, right? But it really just boils down to two big things that are totally connected. First, you have to rethink the entire process. You can't just bolt AI onto some 20-year-old workflow and hope for magic. And once you do that, it creates a new need. You have to upskill your people so they can stop doing the repetitive stuff and focus on the high-value work that only humans can do.
And that brings us to another huge hurdle you see in the real world of AI. Taking a successful little experiment and actually making it work for the whole company. Look, getting great results in a pilot program, that's one thing. You've got a small, focused team, maybe 50 people, everyone's excited, it's a controlled environment. But scaling that up to thousands of employees,
across all these complex, messy, real-world systems, that's a whole different ballgame. That's where the real friction kicks in.
So how do you cross that gap? It takes a really methodical approach. You have to build capability across the board, maybe with train-the-trainer programs. You need absolute, unwavering commitment from leadership to champion the change. You need clear incentives so people are rewarded for working in these new ways. And finally, you have to be smart about where you even start. You've got to analyze your whole workflow to figure out where AI is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck first.
And finally, none of this, not the ROI, not the scaling, none of it matters if we can't trust the systems we're building. This brings us to what has to be the absolute foundation of the AI enterprise: responsibility.
Responsible AI. It's not just a buzzword. It's not something you tack on at the very end. It has to be a fundamental principle that's woven through the entire life cycle of a system, from the moment you design it, to building it, to testing it and monitoring it. It covers security, ethics, and getting rid of bias to make sure these systems are both fair and safe.
And when you look at cybersecurity, which is a huge part of responsible AI, the impact is fascinating. AI is a classic double-edged sword here.
On one side, yes, AI creates new risks. It's giving the bad actors powerful tools to launch more sophisticated attacks. But, on the other side, AI is also our best defense. We're infusing it into security tools to make them way smarter and faster at spotting threats. It's basically an ongoing arms race, and AI is powering both sides.
So when you boil it all down, after looking at the money, the returns, the roadblocks, it all comes back to us. The technology is going to keep evolving at a dizzying speed. That's a given. The real test, the true bottleneck, is our human capacity to adapt, to manage all this change, and to build these powerful new tools responsibly. So the biggest question isn't really what AI can do anymore. It's what are we prepared to do with it? Are we ready?